I'm Elia Locardi. Join me as I travel through Kentucky and see its beauty through my lens. This is Kentucky in Focus. Kentucky is well known for its rivers and lakes, including the Cumberland River, which runs 688 miles through southern Kentucky and north-central Tennessee. Here in Corbin, Kentucky flows the Niagara of the South, Cumberland Falls. The first thing I wanted to do when I came here in the afternoon was take a photo. On clear mornings here in Cumberland Falls, you're likely to see a rainbow shining right at the base of the waterfall. That is, if you go at the right time of day when the sun is in the perfect position. The mist from the waterfall creates millions of tiny prisms, which reflect the sunlight and cause a reliable rainbow. I've been scouting around different vantage points here at Cumberland Falls to find my favorite one, and I think I found it. This one's really cool. And I think if I set up around here, I'll be able to capture the waterfall really close and this beautiful rainbow right here. I'm gonna go ahead and compose the shot. I'm shooting at 18mm, so I have a good amount of the foregrounds, the waterfall and the backgrounds, and a nice piece of this rainbow too. Let me go ahead and set up here and take a quick shot. Well, right now I have a wide angle shot at 18mm, captures the waterfall on the left and the rainbow on the right. The foreground's a little dark, the background's a little bit light, but that's easy to adjust in post-processing. What I really want to talk about is if I zoom in on the waterfall itself, it has a great composition. We have the rainbow, we have the foreground, we have the background, but I think we can make the waterfall look a little bit better. Right now, my shutter speed is pretty fast. I've frozen the waterfall in motion. I can see all the texture, all the detail, and all the little beads of water. When I photograph waterfalls, I really like to do something a little bit different. With a basic snapshot of a waterfall, we're able to freeze the beads of water in motion. But my favorite photos of waterfalls have always been waterfalls with soft water. And in order to do that, we need to have a longer exposure in camera. And since it's broad daylight, it's really hard to get that with the basic camera settings. So what I'm gonna have to do is attach what's called a neutral density filter on the front of my camera, and what that's gonna allow me to do is slow down the shutter speed. Once I'm able to slow down that shutter speed, instead of freezing the waterfall in motion, it's gonna be nice, soft, with streaky water instead of frozen drops. This is a 10-stop neutral density filter, and I also have a holder that allows me to change filters as I see fit. But a 10-stop is perfect for this scene, and it's kind of like sunglasses for the camera. It limits the amount of light that's passing through the front of the lens, and it allows me to transform the exact same scene into an 8-second exposure. Now, if I take the same shot and we compare it to the previous shot without a neutral density filter, you can see the difference. As you can see, slowing down my shutter speed has made the falls look smooth and silky, and the lack of mist has made the rainbow even more prominent in the frame. Photographing waterfalls is a lot of fun, especially when you have a neutral density filter and you can slow that shutter down. It's also nice to be here during the day because Cumberland Falls' main attraction is the Moonbow. So anytime there's a full moon and a clear sky, you can be here to see this natural phenomenon. But it's a little bit different. Unlike being here during the day, where you can easily access everything and see where you're going, it's pitch black when you get here for the Moonbow. So already having a strong understanding of where you want to be is definitely an advantage. And while I slowed the shutter down using a neutral density filter today at Cumberland Falls, if I'm going to be shooting the Moonbow, I'm also going to need to do it as a long exposure. But since it's so dark, I won't need the filter. To learn more about Cumberland Falls and to prepare for my nighttime Moonbow shoot, I met up with Olivia Immitt, a naturalist at Cumberland Falls Resort Park. I wanted to know what makes this Kentucky destination a must-see. I'm really excited to be here and to see Cumberland Falls in person, but what makes it so significant?
Cumberland Falls is actually Kentucky's largest flowing waterfall. On average, there's about 1,000 CFS, which stands for cubic feet per second. And right now we're actually way below that average. We didn't have rain for about a month straight. And so right now it's only about 200 CFS. And that affects the amount of mist that comes up, because that amount of water coming over the waterfall is what creates that mist once it hits the bottom of the waterfall. And that's what we're actually super famous for, because that mist is what is responsible for the moonbow that is created from the moonlight shining through that mist.
So moonbow works similar to the way that a rainbow works, it's just moonlight instead of sunlight.
Exactly. And for it to happen, you have to have enough moonlight, so it has to be close to the full moon.
So this is a measurable, predictable moonbow.
Exactly. And that's what makes this place so famous, is because it is the only reliable moonbow that occurs here in the Northern Hemisphere.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We have that perfect angle that comes up every full moon, shines through that mist of the waterfall, and as long as it's not cloudy, which it looks like it's not going to be tonight, you can see the moonbow.
So this is Cumberland Falls, so this is obviously Cumberland River. And there are other famous waterfalls nearby us too that people can visit.
Exactly. Not only do we have the largest flowing waterfall right here at Cumberland Falls in Kentucky, but we also have the tallest waterfall in Kentucky, super close by. In McCreary County, there is Yahoo Falls. That's at the northernmost point of a national park called the Big South Fork. And Yahoo Falls is Kentucky's tallest waterfall. Some will argue that it's not, because there are taller ones, but they do not run year-round. But it does have that claim to fame of being the tallest waterfall that runs year-round.
Was it named because somebody jumped off of it and yelled Yahoo?
Yahoo! I don't think so. The origin does actually come from Shawnee tradition, but locals also call it Yahoo. So depending on who you're talking to, you might hear a little different story.
So a big claim for tourism here at Cumberland Falls is, one, it's easy to access. There's a parking lot. You don't have to hike very far. But that moonbow is something really special. What does somebody need to be able to see it?
The most important thing to keep in mind when you are looking for the moonbow is that you are not going to see actual colors of a rainbow unless you're under 5. If you're under 5, the cones in your eyes still are capable of seeing that color. So you might be standing up on that platform, you see this white band of light, which is what the average person will see, and a little kid might be next to you and be like, oh, look at the rainbow! And you can't see the colors because you're not 5.
If we don't have the eyes and retinal capability of a 5-year-old, how do we see the color?
You will have to use a long exposure on a camera to bring out those colors in the rainbow, those fractals of light. And to do that, you're really going to want to use a tripod, because for a long exposure, if you make the slightest adjustment to your camera, it's going to be fuzzy. Another thing, you do not want to use a flash of any sort, because that light that's coming from the moon shining through the mist, that's the light you want to pick up. You don't want to flash the light and then you'll just get a picture that kind of looks like daytime. So it's really important. Those are the 3 key things. Using a tripod, long exposure, no flash.
Thanks to Olivia, I know why the moonbow occurs. Now, it's time to photograph it, but I have to wait until the sun disappears in the sky and the whole area becomes pitch dark. Luckily, there are no clouds, so I know the moonbow will come out tonight.
It might be hard to tell right now, but I'm actually back at Cumberland Falls, getting ready to photograph the moonbow. Now, the moonbow is unique and it draws visitors from all over the world. But something to keep in mind is that it's very difficult to see with the naked eye. When you look at it, you're just gonna see a white bow across the sky. Now, it really comes alive when you shoot it with a long exposure.
Coming back here at night is a completely different experience. There are hundreds of people in the pitch darkness, some with flashlights, some with cameras, and some with just their phones. But I came prepared with my tripod and was able to capture this photo from a similar vantage point as this morning. You might think that this looks just like the rainbow during the day, but look at the sky. Those are stars. With a long enough exposure, you can actually bring the colors out of the moonbow and make the moonlight seem like sunlight. There are several water-related activities you can enjoy at Cumberland Falls, like approaching the falls in a small riverboat or taking a stand-up paddleboarding lesson. These paddleboards also double as kayaks, which is what I decided to try out.
How's it going?
Hi.
What do you have planned for us today?
We are going to take a sup tour below Cumberland Falls.
I'm going to need this?
You're going to need that.
Okay. How does the water level influence these tours?
The sup tour can run basically anytime. When we get really high, you know, like floodwater levels, it's going to shut us down. It's just not safe to go at that point. But anything below that is really a lot of fun. Every level has something different to offer. Like now when we're super low, you can get a lot closer to the falls.
And I'm assuming you can see through the water much better when it's
You can. There are a lot of breaks in the curtain.
When the water level is low, it's also kind of the nicest viewing for the falls too, isn't it, with the color?
Yeah, it can be. When it gets low, it gets a lot clearer, and it's got this really pretty kind of green tint to it. So with these boards, we have options. They call it a Versa board. And we can either stand up on them and take one of these double blades and just use it like a stand-up paddle board, or we can switch the blades around and use it like a kayak, like a sit on top. Which would you prefer?
I'm very comfortable with kayaking.
Kayaking, great. That makes it a lot more stable, and it's a lot easier to paddle in the current.
And less chances of falling off?
Yes, less chances. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna slide our paddles onto the board. We won't need those for just a minute. And I'm gonna get your jacket fitted a little tighter.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm usually a safety at least third kind of person.
At least third. When I lift up on the shoulders, we don't want it to come up above your ears.
Right.
Okay, is that pretty comfortable?
That's pretty comfortable, yeah.
Angie taught me how to keep my feet on the board for the most comfort and leverage. She also taught me how to hold the paddle so I could get the most out of each stroke. There was the forward stroke and the backward stroke, the combination of which would help me navigate around the river. Then we pulled the boats into the water, got inside, and pushed into the waiting river. Because I went during a time with a low water level, I was able to get all the way behind the waterfall and have the ultimate Cumberland Falls experience. But whether you're here to see the rainbow, moonbow, or just have fun on the beach, Cumberland Falls State Resort Park is great for the whole family.